Everybody, welcome to another studio build video. I'm John Millay. We are working in the studio today. We are working on our ductwork. Kind of made a mess up there. Oh, that was a real bummer. I should have come down and finished cutting through the paper on this side. But anyway, we are cutting holes for our registers. In a minute, we'll go upstairs and show you what's going on up there. For now, I'll just let you know that we're doing 2 holes in each room. We're gonna have a return and a supply in each room. And we have a small concealed duct mini split air conditioning system that's gonna be installed upstairs. It's a heat pump, so it's gonna keep us warm in the winter and air conditioned in the summer. We're gonna go ahead and go up and cut our supply register out upstairs. So let's head up there. All right, so here we are. I am about halfway through the process of installing decking up here. I had to pause to cut these holes. I'm going to install my duct boots, and then I'm going to finish my decking. But let's get up here. So here is the hole we just cut. I've already got my 2 smaller registers, duct boots installed over on that side. And this right here is our unit. As I said, it's a concealed duct mini split, and it's upside down, but this side here is going to be pointing that way, blowing our supply air into 2 short duct runs, and then our return air is going to come one from here and one from there. But let's cut our supply side out over here, and after that, I'm actually probably going to pause this project, finish my decking, and come back to this heating and air project.
So here I am cutting out the second hole. This is going to be for the supply register. This is where the hot and cold air is going to be blowing into the room. I was a lot more careful this time to cut all the way through, and then I went downstairs to finish cutting any corners or anything so I could get that piece out. And then we got the duct boot fit in the hole and screwed in. Here in the studio, both of these registers are 12 by 6. So we've got a 12 by 6 return and a 12 by 6 supply. And then we have 10 by 6 return and supply in the office there. And those are on smaller duct as well. So we got this part finished, and now we're going to move on to, well, I'll explain it here in the next clip.
Now that we got the duct boots in and fastened to the ceiling, we're going to go up and cut the insulation around the boots so that they'll be surrounded by the insulation, and yeah, let's do that.
Normally, your duct boots would be wrapped with insulation, at least if they're exposed. But since these are down in my joist cavities, I thought it would work just as well to cover them with the insulation that was already there. So I tried to make sure that the insulation was nice and snug around them. And yeah, I'm not a pro, but it seems like this is going to work just fine. You'll see that we do some other insulation as well after we get the duct connected a little bit later in the project. And now here I am installing the 2x4s that I will use to mount the unit. The unit's going to be hanging from 3/8 inch all thread or threaded rod, and these 2x4s are going to be the supports. I had originally thought of installing some 2x4s to the purlins up there against the ceiling, but this made a lot more sense, and I'm glad I decided to go with this route because it worked out really well. For all the trouble that I go to get these plumb and level, I actually ended up having to move them later. I don't show that in the video. I had to move them a little bit to the south, a little bit towards the camera here in this orientation, I think, yeah. Because the unit was hanging just a little bit off of where it needed to be to fit through the hole there in the truss. Now I'm installing metal L brackets. I modified these just a little bit to fit here. And this is what we're going to hang our threaded rod from. Here I'm hanging the rod. Lots of nuts and washers. Made sure that all of the rods were the same distance from the floor. Got everything tight and snugged up. These are the nuts and washers that are going to actually hang the unit. And now we're going to hang it. My wife is an incredible helper, and I just have to take the opportunity to let you know that. She really enjoys doing construction type work of all different kinds, and she's actually got a good bit of experience, and she is just super helpful. If she didn't have to spend so much of her time taking care of the kids and feeding us and all of that, she would have loved to have spent even more time than she did helping me with the various projects here. And there are certain parts that I definitely just could not have done without her, and this is one of them. Would not have been able to hang this by myself. It would have been very difficult anyway. My girls loved playing up here while I was working on this part of the project. There's Maggie getting her coat off. It's warm up there, even on cold days. If the sun is out, it gets warm up there under the tin. So the girls would come up and take their coats off and play all kinds of imaginary games. Now here we're getting the unit to the right height and getting it all leveled. I do move the 2x4s like I mentioned earlier, but I didn't get that on camera. But we got it all leveled up, and Elisa helped me move the 2x4s. Definitely would not have been able to do that alone. She helped me hold them while I unscrewed them and scooted them over. And it looked pretty much like this when it was done. Looks really good. It worked out well. And now we are installing the plenum boxes. I had these boxes custom built by a fabricator in Tulsa. So they're made out of sheet metal, they're insulated on the inside, and they each have two takeoffs, 6-inch and 8-inch. We did 6-inch duct into the office room and 8-inch into the studio, and that way the airflow is divided unevenly, so we get more air into the studio and less into the office because the office is a smaller room. So now I am taping up the seams there while I'm messing with the webbing that we're hanging it with, and now we are taping up the seams. This makes sure that that everything's all airtight and connected well. Now this is the return side. You can see there on the side there's a little door. That is a door for an air filter. I had them put a filter box on the return side. That way I don't have to have any filters in the registers. They don't make filters that are the size of my registers anyway because they're small. So we've got a big filter up there in the plenum, and all of our air is getting nicely filtered while it's coming back to the unit. Now I am setting and taping the elbows. You would not believe how long this took. It was very tedious. It took about a half an hour for each elbow. Pretty quick to get them set at the angle you need them, but then taping each one of those seams and making sure the tape was smoothed out. Boy, that was tedious. But we got it done and moved on.
So we're about finished with our duct work, and what I'm doing right now is something that I've never seen anybody do. It's just kind of an experiment. I didn't have the space or the money or the inclination to do some of the more complicated stuff that can be done to soundproof the air ducts. So what I'm doing is I'm adding, I'm covering the outside of these boots with the putty pads. They manufacture these to be used as fire breaks. You cover your electrical boxes with them. But they're also really great for soundproofing. We put them on the electrical box to keep sound coming in and out. And I figure covering these thin sheet metal duct boots with this dense putty material should add a little bit of sound protection at least. So that's what we're doing right now. This is our last one, getting them covered with putty, getting the insulation put back down, and then screwing in our elbows. And then we will start hooking up our actual flex duct. So let's get this finished.
All right, so not very difficult, not a lot to explain here, just sticking these putty pads down onto the boot. I made sure that we overlapped the OSB, the ceiling surface, so that we could really seal up the gap between the boot and the ceiling. And this is hopefully providing a little bit of sound dampening as well as sealing up this boot and making it airtight. It's got some seams and stuff that need to be covered some way, and this way I think was just as good as any other. So getting the insulation kind of tucked back in there, lots of little pieces. And now we're going to install the elbow. They were sometimes hard to get down in there. You can see when I pull it up, there's a little metal flange, and sometimes the elbow got kind of caught up on that. But we get it set in the orientation where we want it to be, and then we're going to screw it in with some screws. We're going to tape it with our foil tape. This provides some air tightness, seals up that ring there. And then after that, just for fun, I put a little putty around that seam as well. And I did this same process for all four of the elbows, all four of the duct boots. The next thing that we're going to do, and you're going to see here in just a minute after I finish with this putty, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to actually install the actual duct. And that's going to be the end of this video. This whole thing ended up being 32 minutes long. There's still some important stuff to do. We got to connect the units and get them running. And we had some drama with that part of the project, which is why we had to split this into two videos, because it takes a while to explain all the stuff that went wrong. But there's a happy ending, so you can be encouraged and look forward to watching the next part. So here I am cutting my flex duct to length. I actually cut it quite a bit too long, and you're going to see here after we get the duct connected that we're going to be able to pull the insulation down over our elbow instead of wrapping the elbow separately. And that's why I cut these too long. So there's quite a bit of extra duct, and I have to cut that down to size. And now we're going to get this side connected. I have to give a big thank you to my neighbor Ethan Munson. He runs a heating and air conditioning business nearby, and he actually gave me some of this duct. I only needed some small pieces, and didn't want to spend the money buying they only come in 25 feet, but I only needed like a total of 10 for each side or less. So he was really cool, gave me some small leftovers that he had, and he also gave me a roll of contractor's grade duct tape, which is actually made for heating and cooling. So there you see we had enough insulation that we got it pulled up over the elbow on both sides, and now I'm going to wrap a little bit of extra down there at the bottom. This is the end of this video, part 1 of our mini split installation. And so join us for part 2, where you can hear all about the drama of getting this project finished.